FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Well, one way you go at the question of why we sleep is to look at what happens when we do not sleep. And so there's a whole lot of research on sleep deprivation, and it's turning up some pretty dire things. It turns out that sleep deprivation, even a little bit of it, compromises immune functioning. It interferes with the way you secrete and respond to insulin. It makes you more insulin resistant. They subjected young, healthy guys to 4 hours of sleep for 6 nights. And that's not a huge amount. Many of us do that in the course of a lifetime. And they found that it made them more insulin resistant, and it gave them the hormonal profiles of elderly people, actually, and of pre-diabetics. You become more insulin resistant as you age. These particular subjects had reduced levels of growth hormone, and they had higher levels of stress hormones, and that's a very bad combination. That also happens with age. Your growth hormone goes down, and that's necessary to cell repair. It's why the loss of growth hormone is why we lose muscle mass and put on fat, get pudgy, and all those unpleasant things that happen with age. You just don't want to accelerate these processes, and this is what happens with sleep deprivation. And it makes you ravenous. And I could have told them that from day one. And this is an area where research is catching up to anecdote, you know, because insomniacs have always known that sleep starvation makes for hunger. And hunger for junk, not for good food, but for grease and sugar and stuff like that. Researchers can now tell us why. It's because it lowers levels of leptin, which is an appetite suppressant, and it raises levels of ghrelin, which is an appetite stimulant. Very bad combination. So you get hungry. So, you know, nobody ever died of insomnia. That's something we often hear. I think it's one of the reasons that insomnia is not better researched, because it's not perceived as life-threatening. But it has dire consequences for health. Insomniacs have more hospitalizations, more visits to doctors, more accidents on the job and on the road. It's a risk factor for depression, alcoholism, suicide. And I would call Heath Ledger's death by insomnia. And we haven't even gotten to the part what it does to your mood, right? Or what it does to your functioning in terms of like getting jobs, keeping marriages together, keeping relationships. It just takes an enormous toll on people's lives.